to the hidden cost of staying a WebGIS tool user, okay, instead of being a WebGIS developer. Yeah, I want to start with you where GIS is really going, okay? So most organizations, they still do GIS through ArcGIS, QGIS, okay? But often they are delivering, or most of the time now, they're delivering it through the browsers, okay? So like internal dashboards, client portals, decision tools, even mobile friendly apps. So either installed like on your mobile phone, but basically WebGIS is more in the browser, but mobile, um, yeah, applications, they rely on WebGIS technology in the end. Okay. Exactly. And then we have their governments, we have NGOs, utilities, startup, climate, carbon companies, logistic companies, real estate companies who are using that. I've put a little image here for you guys. So let me zoom in a little bit. So you see there are just some little tools here for agriculture, Google Maps. Okay, the most prominent example, like your weather application, hiking applications, satellite download applications, Uber, okay, your taxi applications, logistics, parcel real estate, and all these things. Exactly. So that's where actually WebGIS is used. And it's a lot of, as I wrote here, internal dashboard, like internal WebGIS applications, basically. And with most of the WebGIS or most of the telecommunication companies that I have worked, they have internally at least 5 to 10 WebGIS applications that they use. Yeah, that several users can use it and they can share their insights, do their analysis and stuff like that. Okay. So, and here are a couple of, fields, verticals. Let's say, GIS in itself, it is more the concepts and theory and also some software and stuff like that. But it's more actually used in the verticals, like real estate, logistics, agriculture, okay, like climate, carbon companies, startups using that, utility companies, okay, for energy, for water, for gas, and stuff like that. NGOs, governments, they are using that. Okay, all of them are investing in WebGIS-based GIS systems, web-based GIS systems, or WebGIS applications, not just static maps anymore. Okay, because they have often non-GIS people, and it's way simpler for them to have an application where they just click a few buttons instead of learning fully GIS or I don't know, QGIS, ArcGIS Pro, where they have to click a lot of things and put a lot of the parameters and data inside that they don't have an idea about it. And WebGIS applications usually make it simple. They maybe provide something that they want. They click 1, 2, 3 buttons mostly, and they have their insights that they just want. Okay. And exactly. So WebGIS is not longer a niche in itself. It's used across many verticals and is the default way GIS reaches non-GIS people, okay? Managers, clients, public, field teams. Like just think about Google Maps and how often you're using that, or maybe not, but your weather application maybe. And what you have most probably all of you have, or those who went deeper into GIS have downloaded satellite images from satellite image or from platforms, and they are basically all WebGIS applications. Okay, whenever there's some GIS, some location-based stuff involved, and there's an application on the browser, then it's a WebGIS application. It's simple as that. Okay, and even in real estate companies, when you think about like, hey, you want to buy a home somewhere or something, land parcels, stuff like that, whatever, then there's a WebGIS application behind it with location data and attribute data. Exactly. Just think about it. Okay, so I have heard a number, like I've found it in some sources like 500,000 WebGIS applications out there. Some source even provided or estimated that on 5 million. So that was amazing. I was like, okay, yeah. When I think like I've worked with German telecom and also other telecommunication companies here, and they have 5 to 10 applications. Just these two, like telecommunication, German Telecom has way more than this. Just that small, or one of the smaller ones, they had just 5 to 10, and that was like, wow, okay. So just imagine like all the utility companies that are here on this planet, logistic companies and stuff. They all using maps and location data. So just now for yourself, where in your current job or maybe in your daily life, do you already see browser-based maps, dashboards, or portals being used? We love that you put this into our chat. Okay, for those who are for some reason not here in the WebGIS Development Mastery community, you can put it here, please. Simply write it there. And if you're not here yet, you can join us here, school.com WebGIS, very quickly. Just put it in the comments. I will read all of them wherever you're watching this right now. Just put it. I will love to see that. And for those who are live here, we can talk about it even afterwards. Okay, so just put it there. And then if you like, we go deeper in that. And everyone else also put it there. So the hidden ceiling of traditional GIS, as long as you only click, okay, not only click, I mean, there's a lot of learning, of course, eventually or in the beginning behind that. Click buttons inside other people tools, you're seen more as the operator, not as the builder, not as the real creator so far, okay? When the work is like load a layer, buffer, clip, export a map, create a report, usually you're pretty easy to replace. Okay, another analyst, a cheaper region, or eventually AI doing menu-driven tasks can do that also. Okay, so the most interesting problems like automation, automating all of this stuff. This is what you'd have done here. Custom workflows, client platforms. They usually don't reach, when you are using the software, okay? So they usually go to the developers or external vendors, okay, that you also can become, or maybe you are already an external vendor as a freelancer. That creates a hidden ceiling on the complexity of problems you are trusted with and that you're most probably capable with, and that would keep you alive again, or that way would make you alive again. Exactly, not keep you alive, but make you alive. The compensation that you can command, okay, like the salary and stuff like that, or the income or the project pricing that you may be doing when you're already freelancer. And of course, the freedom that you have, like for remote work, freelancing, maybe creating your own product. Okay, if nothing changed in the next 5 years, and you did the same ArcGIS JS work for the next 5 years, how would that feel for you? Would love that in the comments as well, or just go with that in your head. It's also fine. Okay, like if nothing changed, would you be fine? Would that be enough for you, or do you actually want more in your life? Okay, of course, there's no right or wrong answer here. I know some people, they love their GIS workflows, and that's great. We need you guys, totally. But if you want, like, start to developing stuff, going into the more complex stuff, creating applications, being more challenged, how would that feel for you? Then, what WebGIS actually do, we also wanted to talk about that today. So when you decide like, hey, I actually would like to be a WebGIS developer, it sounds great, I want more. Let's go into that. Okay, what do they actually do and why are they so much in demand? So WebGIS developers, they don't just make the maps, okay, they build the systems that that GIS people or the people who are not doing the development are using. So they turn the massive data, spatial data, database into simple web tools, application systems that usually decision makers use in the browser. Okay, they automate the repetitive task, like a repetitive analysis. You daily clip, reproject, join, export routine, okay, into one button usually. often you can put that. And they are exposing GIS capabilities through APIs, okay, like weather APIs, logistics, like routing, stuff like that, and applications that other teams or customers not just use, but they actually rely on it, okay, because it gives them the solutions that they actually need, okay, because those systems, they save time, they save headcount, reduce errors, okay, manual work, and enable new products and services, okay. They are also not just saving time, they can also make a lot of money for companies, also for yourself, and then can have a greater life. Of course, it's not just only about the money, but it's also about the freedom and stuff like that, and seeing this beautiful planet here. So companies are happy to pay multiples more for a developer who can build them, okay, than for an analyst who, yeah, just uses them. So you move from cost center, okay, with what you're using, to profit driver, actually. Okay, so helping your company that, yeah, saving time, making even money. They can go to clients, they can, or you can go to clients if you start freelancing, and then suggesting them solutions to the problems that they have. Okay, not just making some fancy maps, okay, but what you actually want to do is you want to solve real world problems here. Okay, and being the people helper beyond the tools, actually. Exactly, that's what WebGIS people do, WebGIS developers do. So WebGIS demystified in one picture. So I know a lot of you are like, hey, how is this even working? I never got the full picture yet. So every WebGIS app you use is basically, it's in the browser. Okay, it starts in the browser. When it's installed on your desktop GIS, it's desktop GIS. And on your desktop, it's desktop GIS. If it's installed on your mobile phone, smartphone, then it's mobile GIS. When it's used in the browser, it's basically WebGIS. Okay, when people have a URL, maybe a login, then it's WebGIS. So browser, usually HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and a WebGIS library. Okay, and you're set to create basically everything. You might think set to create everything. What about React and these fancy things? You don't need that in the beginning, okay? And you can do everything basically with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, because also React just relies on these guys, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. And it's, yeah, it's simply that you want to understand HTML, CSS, JavaScript before you even think about React, okay? Because, or even create an application with that, because React actually is there to solve not problems, but to make a couple of things simpler that you're usually doing with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and that need sometimes a little tricks here and there and some workarounds. So with React, there is there to actually solve a couple of problems, not actually problems, as I said, but it's making simply some things easier. And you're still using a lot HTML. You have to understand HTML, CSS, and JavaScript because you're using that in React. And if you don't know what it is, you will always be like, hey, what is this shit doing here? Okay, so at first, go with this one, create a real application. Then, of course, we have the server side. Okay, there's Python, maybe Django, maybe Node.js on it, and there's a database. Okay, so browser, server side, and then the database. And that's the whole thing. Okay, that's the whole system, how your data flows all of the time, that you can create any WebGIS application, any WebGIS system that you want to do. Okay, and of course, the whole thing goes back to the browser. Okay, the browser usually requests data from a server. Server can request data from a database. On the server, you have your Python, your JavaScript, whatever, your C++, even whatever, doing the analysis and sending the result back to the browser. Okay, that's usually the main workflow in WebGIS. Okay, you have the front end, shows the map, can do filtering there, you have your forms, your results. Okay, this is where usually users work with, or what users work with and get their results from. The backend runs the heavier logic. Okay, you can also do some logic and some analysis and stuff on the front end, but you must be careful. Often we have generalized data because of, the zooming stuff in the front end. Okay, so if you, for example, see like the borders of the US, most probably it's not the full resolution there. And if you're using that polygon that's on the front end currently, most probably your analysis is not that accurate that you would like to have it. Okay, so then you would actually send your stuff either to the backend or request the full data to the front end, which, yeah, there are workarounds that you can do it, but sometimes really heavy data when you think like how much points the US border, for example, or Russian or what else, Australian border or something, what they have, like these bigger countries, then yeah, there is a lot of data and it might take longer to do that on the front end. On the back end, you can really do yeah, the more performance stuff there. Talks to the database, okay, and GIS engines, yeah, GIS services, and stuff like that. So basically, yeah, you cannot talk from the browser usually directly to a database. Okay, there's no way. It always goes through a server, through the server, through Python, through Node.js, through C#, whatever. Okay, so now your GIS background already gives you the data and the spatial logic, of course, that you have, okay, the knowledge that you have in there, data knowledge, spatial logic knowledge. WebGIS dev adds the language to tell the computer actually what to do with it so that you can create real applications. And the cool thing is you don't need 20 frameworks, you need a lean stack that you understand end to end. And this is, for example, what I'm going through with my students. We at first go into the WebGIS fundamentals, clarify the architecture in WebGIS, the terms, so that they can see this full thing right away and they understand what's going on here, browser, server, database. So this is all WebGIS systems rely exactly on that architecture, okay? And we clarify this in detail so that they understand how this works. And then we usually go into the browser side, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, that you can really create any custom tools even, or start using or advance ArcGIS Experience Builder or Streamlit, Folium, these kind of things, okay, if you wanted to. And then you go into a WebGIS library. And a lot of people make the mistakes. They start with the WebGIS library. Yes, I was also one of them. So I was also copying, pasting code and banging my head on the table and like, what's going on? Why can I not create these applications here? Because I simply didn't start with 1 and 2 before, so that I could actually create everything. But there's one important concept here in JavaScript, like objects, okay, object-oriented programming. And I know you guys most probably have heard this with crazy words and totally strange explanations. It is simply there are objects which can be a map, which can be a feature layer, which can be, I don't know, your spatial geometry engine, simply where your analysis functions are inside. That's it. And this is these objects, okay, they're in ArcGIS Maps SDK for JavaScript, they are in Leaflet, they are in OpenLayers, in MapLever, in Mapbox, in Google Maps API, and stuff like that, okay? It's always the same thing. When you understand these libraries, these objects once, you're just starting using the functionalities simply that they provide, and you you can find them simply by going through the documentation, maybe Googling them up, starting using them, or of course, you can create that within JavaScript knowledge for yourself at that point, okay? And then we have the server side. Usually I go through that with my people through Python, GeoPandas, GDAL, so it's really powerful. And then you can connect the front end basically with the back end, like the server side, with a web framework, okay? You cannot like send a request directly to a Python script or something like that. You need your web frameworks here so that you can send actually your request there, and this web framework will forward this to Python, let's say, to your code, and then send back the result into your front end. You can take it there and put it on the map, create a chart, a table, whatever you need, okay? And of course, then you want to understand how you can create a great career with that, and that's basically what we are talking here about today in more detail. So why this skill is the right vehicle, like WebGIS development. Okay, if your dream outcome is becoming the person who can actually build the solution, not just use existing tools, develop skills companies and clients are willing to pay a premium for. Okay, prove your ability by building real applications that solve real problems. Okay, that's important. A lot of people, they go out and they show a portfolio with a Udemy, let's say, application. Maybe that can do some routing, some little stuff here and there. But what hiring people, hiring managers, or project givers for freelancing and clients care about is they want to see that you have the ability to solve a real problem and not just follow a tutorial. Okay. And this you can do when you follow this thing through here the right way. I know a lot of people from you might have been already, or most people who come here, they have already been through Udemy and they were like, hey, I understand what they explain, but I cannot do it myself afterwards. Okay, it's because simply most of the tutorials, they give you the fundamentals or they talk very quickly about this and then they show you 1000 WebGIS examples. But that's not the way how you can do it eventually. You need the fundamentals to actually do everything for yourself. Okay, and that's more important. So it's often that people come here, say they have wasted a lot of time in these tutorials, like not learning the right structure. Actually, like what I often see is 4 hours on the fundamentals and then 16 hours on WebGIS library examples. Actually, it simply must be vice versa. That's how it works. Like actually 16 hours on the fundamentals and then just 4 hours on WebGIS libraries, and then you can actually create everything. Okay, this is it. Sounds strange, but that's actually how it works. This is how I have learned it, and all of my programming friends, when we have talked about it, it's like, hey, yeah, I actually learned all of the elements here, like HTML, 10 elements, CSS, 10 concepts, JavaScript, 10, 15 elements, and then you can actually write any code that you want, and you can start using WebGIS libraries and not just copying pasting examples. Okay, and that's the point where you want to go with. So exactly, prove your ability by building real applications that solve real problems, create your own opportunities, whether that means a better job or your own freelancing, your own business, okay, and build a career that gives you control over your income, location, and time. Then WebGIS development is the vehicle that directly connects your existing GIS knowledge, okay, to real software systems, okay. You just need to go through this path here. That's how it works. That increases your perceived likelihood of delivering results companies care about. Not actually the likelihood you will actually be able to do that. Shortens the time between I have an idea, okay, or I have a problem that I've talked with a potential client about, and actually here is a working application, proof of concept, an MVP. Okay, you often want to start like not with a full application, but with an MVP or proof of concept, so that it has the core functionality inside, so that you can. Often what I see is people create big applications with 20 functionalities inside, and 18 are just confusing and no one is actually needing that, and it's just having too many buttons. People don't just even want to look at it. What it needs is maybe, yeah, it's usually one core functionality and maybe one other or two other additional functionalities that help here and there to making things faster. Okay, that's basically it, what people want, not like 20,000 buttons like you have seen from QGIS or ArcGIS Pro. Okay, so it reduces the effort and sacrifice of endlessly chasing random tutorials that never add up. Okay, so go this path. It will be totally helpful. Okay, go through the fundamentals first and then start creating your applications. A final little reflection for you, quick, not a little, but quick, let's say, maybe, or more an effective reflection. Like, what specific WebGIS application would you love to be able to build in the next 6 to 12 months? What would it be? Like basically, WebGIS applications, it can be everything. It can be literally everything. You can create ArcGIS Pro, you can create QGIS as a WebGIS application. Usually they are smaller applications, like where people usually click a few buttons and they get like the manual workflow into an application. Okay. And it can be literally from logistic companies that just want to see like, hey, is the route good today where this truck is going along because it has a lot of food loaded and everything is fine on that route, or should we take another one to make sure the food really arrives on time and still good in a good condition there? Or it can be like once taken a manual workflow, or it was actually from an energy company. They were programming with Python their energy networks and solving them, like testing how good they work and stuff, and taking that programming stuff out of their hands so that they could just have everything they could see. So they were even like programming the network, like saying where it is and stuff like this with the buttons, the buses and the network, how it should look like and stuff like that. So I created everything from that, made a WebGIS application that took that programming stuff and simply was automating that, so they could simply do now everything by hand and drawing it on a WebGIS application, their network, and seeing how good it works and stuff like that. Okay, so that they now don't have to program, or they don't need to program anything anymore. Okay, and everyone on the company, even the non-programmers, can now create networks and test how well they work. So what specific WebGIS application would you love to build? Would you be able to build yourself in the next 6 to 12 months? Okay, if it's around environmental, logistics, real estate, whatever. Okay, would love to see that in your comments. In the comments, which path do you want? That would also be very interesting for me. Better job, freelancing projects, or creating your own product eventually. Which one is it for you? These guys, you can put it here in our post or wherever you are watching this in the comment, okay, so that I can see this. I want to check this and see where you guys are at. So if you're clear on whether you want to turn, you want to turn that into freelancing work, a better job, or your own product, the next logical step is to map out your path, okay, not just a path, but exactly your path. And this week, again, we have opened a couple of few free WebGIS roadmap call slots for people like you. So on that call, we will look at where you are today, clarify the exact outcome that you want, job, freelance, product, and then build a simple 3 to 6 month roadmap for your WebGIS development skills and how we get you into freelancing, into your next job, or creating a product that you can sell. That, okay? If you want help turning that, insight from today into a concrete plan and future, just click here and quickly fill this out, and then we will see each other and we will map out your roadmap exactly and how it can work for you, okay? How it's possible for you. And then you can decide in the end if you want help or you want to take that and you go for yourself. It's totally fine. Okay, awesome. Thanks for being here, everyone.